Chapter 3, in the empty courtroom, the student, the offices. During the next week, Kay waited day after day for a new summons. He would not believe that his refusal to be interrogated had been taken literally. And when no appointment was made by Saturday evening, he assumed that he was tacitly expected to report himself again at the same address and at the same time. So he betook himself there on Sunday morning, and this time went straight up through the passages and stairways. A few people who remembered him greeted him from their doors, but he no longer needed to inquire of anybody and soon came to the right door. It opened at once to his knock, and without even turning his head to look at the woman who remained standing beside the door, he made straight for the adjoining room. "There's no sitting today," said the woman. "Why is there no sitting?" he asked. He could not believe it, but the woman convinced him by herself opening the door of the next room. It was really empty, and in its emptiness looked even more sordid than on the previous Sunday. On the table, which still stood on the platform as before, several books were lying. May I glance at those books?" asked Kay, not out of any particular curiosity, but merely that his visit here might not be quite pointless. "No," said the woman, shutting the door again. "That isn't allowed. The books belong to the examining magistrate." "I see," said Kay, nodding. "These books are probably law books, and it is an essential part of the justice dispensed here that you should be condemned not only in innocence but also in ignorance." "That must be it," said the woman, who had not quite understood him. "Well, in that case, I had better go again," said Kay. "Shall I give the examining magistrate a message?" asked the woman. "Do you know him?" asked Kay. "Of course," replied the woman. "My husband is an usher, you see." Only then did Kay notice that the anteroom, which had contained nothing but a washtub last Sunday, now formed a fully furnished living room. The woman remarked his surprise and said, "Yes, we have free house room here, but we must clear the room on the days when the court is sitting. My husband's post has many disadvantages." "I'm not so much surprised at the room," said Kay, looking at her severely, "as at the fact that you're married. Perhaps you're hinting at what happened during the last sitting, when I caused a disturbance while you were speaking," said the woman. "Of course I am," said Kay. "It's an old story by this time and almost forgotten, but at the moment it made me quite furious, and now you say yourself that you're a married woman. It didn't do you any harm to have your speech interrupted. What you said made a bad enough impression, to judge from the discussion afterwards." "That may be," said Kay, evading that issue, "but it does not excuse you." "I stand excused in the eyes of everyone who knows me," said the woman. "The man you saw embracing me has been persecuting me for a long time. I may not be a temptation to most men, but I am to him. There's no way of keeping him off. Even my husband has grown reconciled to it now. If he isn't to lose his job, he must put up with it, for that man you saw is one of the students and will probably rise to great power yet. He's always after me. He was here today, just before you came." "It is all on a par," said Kay. "It doesn't surprise me." "You are anxious to improve things here, I think," said the woman slowly and watchfully, as if she were saying something which was risky both to her and to Kay. "I guessed that from your speech, which personally I liked very much, though of course I only heard part of it. I missed the beginning, and I was down on the floor with the student while you were finishing. It's so horrible here," she said after a pause, taking Kay's hand. "Do you think you'll manage to improve things?" Kay smiled and caressed her soft hands. "Actually," he said, "it isn't my place to improve things here, as you put it, and if you were to tell the examining magistrate so, let us say, he would either laugh at you or have you punished. As a matter of fact, I should never have dreamed of interfering of my own free will and shouldn't have lost an hour's sleep over the need for reforming the machinery of justice here, but the fact that I am supposed to be under arrest forces me to intervene. I am under arrest, you know, to protect my own interests. But if I can help you in any way at the same time, I shall be very glad, of course, and not out of pure altruism either, for you in turn might be able to help me." "How could I do that?" asked the woman. "By letting me look at the books on the table there, for instance." "But of course," cried the woman, dragging him hastily after her. They were old dog-eared volumes. The cover of one was almost completely split down the middle. The two halves were held together by mere threads. "How dirty everything is here," said Kay, shaking his head, and the woman had to wipe away the worst of the dust with her apron before Kay would put out his hand to touch the books. He opened the first of them and found an indecent picture. A man and a woman were sitting naked on a sofa. The obscene intention of the draftsman was evident enough. Yet his skill was so small that nothing emerged from the picture save the all too solid figures of a man and a woman sitting rigidly upright, and because of the bad perspective, apparently finding the utmost difficulty even in turning toward each other. Kay did not look at any of the other pages, but merely glanced at the title page of the second book. It was a novel entitled how Great was plagued by her husband Hans. These are the law books that are studied here, said Kay. These are the men who are supposed to sit in judgment on me. I'll help you, said the woman. Would you like me to? Could you really do that without getting yourself into trouble? You told me a moment ago that your husband is quite at the mercy of the higher officials. I want to help you all the same, said the woman. Come, let us talk it over. Don't bother about the danger to me. I only fear danger when I want to fear it. Come. She settled herself on the edge of the platform and made room for him beside her. You have lovely dark eyes, she said, after they had sat down, looking up into Kay's face. I've been told that I have lovely eyes too, but yours are far lovelier. I was greatly struck by you as soon as I saw you the first time you came here, and it was because of you that I slipped later into the courtroom, a thing I never do otherwise, in which, in a manner of speaking, I am actually forbidden to do. So this is all it amounts to, thought Kay. She's offering herself to me. She's corrupt like the rest of them. She's tired of the officials here, which is understandable enough, and accosts any stranger who takes her fancy with compliments about his eyes. And Kay rose to his feet as if he had uttered his thoughts aloud and sufficiently explained his position. I don't think that could help me, he said. To help me effectively, one would need connections with the higher officials, but I'm sure you know only the petty subordinates that swarm around here. You must know them quite well and could get them to do a lot, I don't doubt, but the utmost that they could do would have no effect whatever on the final result of the case, and you would simply have alienated some of your friends. I don't want that. Keep your friendship with these people, for it seems to me that you need it. I say this with regret, since to make some return for your compliment, I must confess that I like you too, especially when you gaze at me with such sorrowful eyes, as you are doing now, though I assure you there's no reason whatever for it. Your place is among the people I have to fight, but you're quite at home there. You love this student, no doubt, or if you don't love him, at least you prefer him to your husband. It's easy to tell that from what you say. No, she cried without getting up, but merely catching hold of Kay's hand, which he did not withdraw quickly enough. You mustn't go away yet. You mustn't go with mistaken ideas about me. Could you really bring yourself to go away like that? Am I really of so little account in your eyes that you won't even do me the kindness of staying for a little longer? You misunderstand me, said Kay, sitting down. If you really want me to stay, I'll stay with pleasure. I have time enough. I came here expecting to find the court in session. All that I meant was merely to beg you not to do anything for me in this case of mine. But that needn't offend you when you consider that I don't care at all what the outcome of the case is, and that I would only laugh at it if I were sentenced. Assuming, that is, that the case will ever come to a proper conclusion, which I very much doubt. Indeed, I fancy that it has probably been dropped already or will soon be dropped, through the laziness or the forgetfulness, or it may be even through the fears of those who are responsible for it. Of course, it's possible that they will make a show of carrying it on in the hope of getting money out of me, but they needn't bother. I can tell you now, for I shall never bribe anyone. That's something you could really do for me, however. You can inform the examining magistrate or anyone who could be depended on to spread the news that nothing will induce me to bribe these officials, not even any of the artifices in which they are doubtless so ingenious. The attempt would be quite hopeless, you can tell them that frankly, but perhaps they have come to that conclusion already, and even if they haven't, I don't much mind whether they get the information or not. It would merely save them some trouble, and me, of course, some unpleasantness, but I should gladly endure any unpleasantness that meant a setback for them. And I shall take good care to see that it does. By the way, do you really know the examining magistrate? Of course, said the woman. He was the first one I thought of when I offered you my help. I didn't know that he was only a petty official, but as you say so, it must naturally be true. All the same, I fancy that the reports he sends up to the higher officials have some influence, and he writes out so many reports. You say that the officials are lazy, but that certainly doesn't apply to all of them, particularly to the examining magistrate. He's always writing. Last Sunday, for instance, the session lasted till late in the evening. All the others left, but the examining magistrate stayed on in the courtroom. I had to bring a lamp for him. I only had a small kitchen lamp, but that was all he needed, and he began to write straight away. In the meantime, my husband came home. He was off duty on that particular Sunday. We carried back our furniture, set our room to rights again. Then some neighbors arrived. We talked on by candlelight. To tell the truth, we simply forgot the examining magistrate and went to bed. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, it must have been far into the night by then, I woke up. The examining magistrate was standing beside our bed, shielding the lamp with his hand to keep the light from falling on my husband. A needless precaution, for my husband sleeps so soundly that not even the light would have awakened him. I was so startled that I almost cried out. But the examining magistrate was very kind, warned me to be careful, whispered to me that he had been writing till then, that he had come to return the lamp, and that he would never forget the picture I had made lying asleep in bed. I only tell you this to show that the examining magistrate is kept really busy writing reports, especially about you, for your interrogation was certainly one of the main items in the 2 days' session. Such long reports as that surely can't be quite unimportant. But besides that, you can guess from what happened that the examining magistrate is beginning to take an interest in me, and that at this early stage, for he must have noticed me then for the first time, I could have great influence with him. And by this time, I have other proofs that he is anxious to win my favor. Yesterday, he sent me a pair of silk stockings through the student who works with him and whom he is very friendly with, making out that it was a reward for cleaning the courtroom. But that was only an excuse, for to do that is only my duty, and my husband is supposed to be paid for it. They're beautiful stockings. Look, she stretched out her legs, pulled her skirts above her knees, and herself contemplated the stockings. They're beautiful stockings, but too fine all the same, and not suitable for a woman like me. Suddenly she broke off, laid her hand on Kay's hand as if to reassure him, and said, "Hush, Berthold is watching us." Kay slowly raised his eyes. In the door of the courtroom a young man was standing. He was small, his legs were slightly bowed, and he strove to add dignity to his appearance by wearing a short, straggling, reddish beard, which he was always fingering. Kay stared at him with interest. This was the first student of the mysterious jurisprudence whom he had encountered, as it were, on human terms, a man, too, who would presumably attain to one of the higher official positions someday. The student, however, seemed to take not the slightest notice of Kay. He merely made a sign to the woman with one finger, which he withdrew for a moment from his beard, and went over to the window. The woman bent over Kay and whispered, "Don't be angry with me, please. Don't think badly of me. I must go to him now, and he's a dreadful-looking creature. Just see what bandy legs he has. But I'll come back in a minute, and then I'll go with you, if you'll take me with you. I'll go with you wherever you like. You can do with me what you please. I'll be glad if I can only get out of here for a long time, and I wish it could be forever." She gave Kay's hand a last caress, jumped up, and ran to the window. Despite himself, Kay's hand reached out after hers in the empty air. The woman really attracted him, and after mature reflection, he could find no valid reason why he should not yield to that attraction. He dismissed without difficulty the fleeting suspicion that she might be trying to lay a trap for him on the instructions of the court. In what way could she entrap him? Wasn't he still free enough to flout the authority of this court once and for all, at least as far as it concerned him? Could he not trust himself to this trifling extent? And her offer of help had sounded sincere and was probably not worthless. And probably there could be no more fitting revenge on the examining magistrate and his henchmen than to wrest this woman from them and take her himself. Then some night the examining magistrate, after long and arduous labor on his lying reports about Kay, might come to the woman's bed and find it empty. Empty because she had gone off with Kay, because the woman now standing in the window, that supple, voluptuous, warm body under the coarse, heavy, dark dress, belonged to Kay, and to Kay alone. After arguing himself in this way out of his suspicions, he began to feel that the whispered conversation in the window was going on too long, and started knocking on the table with his knuckles and then with his fist. The student glanced briefly at Kay across the woman's shoulder, but did not let himself be put out. Indeed, moved closer to her and put his arms around her. She dropped her head as if attentively listening to him, and as she did so, he kissed her loudly on the throat without at all interrupting his remarks. In this action, Kay saw confirmed the tyranny which the student exercised over the woman, as she had complained, and he sprang to his feet and began to pace up and down the room. With occasional side glances at the student, he meditated how to get rid of him as quickly as possible, and so it was not unwelcome to him when the fellow, obviously annoyed by his walking up and down, which had turned by now into an angry tramping, said, "If you're so impatient, you can go away. There was nothing to hinder your going long ago. Nobody would have missed you. In fact, it was your duty to go away, and as soon as I came in, too, and as fast as your legs could carry you." There was intense rage in these words, but there was also the insolence of a future official of the court addressing a displeasing prisoner. Kay stepped up quite close to the student and said with a smile, "I am impatient, that is true, but the easiest way to relieve my impatience would be for you to leave us. Yet if by any chance you have come here to study, I hear that you're a student, I'll gladly vacate the room and go away with this woman. I fancy you've a long way to go yet in your studies before you can become a judge. I admit I'm not very well versed in the niceties of your legal training, but I assume that it doesn't consist exclusively in learning to make rude remarks, at which you seem to have obtained a shameless proficiency. You shouldn't have been allowed to run around at large. said the student, as if seeking to explain Kay's insulting words to the woman. It was a mistake. I told the examining magistrate that. He should at least have been confined to his room between the interrogations. There are times when I simply don't understand the examining magistrate. What's the use of talking, said Kay, stretching out his hand to the woman. Come along. Ah, that's it, said the student. No, you don't get her. And with a strength which one would not have believed him capable of, he lifted her in one arm and, gazing up at her tenderly, ran, stooping a little beneath his burden, to the door.